Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Today Show. My name is Noor Mohammed and joining us on the sofa is someone representing an organization that is here to answer the big questions and not the kind that start with what time is iftar. No, Islamic Council has become a trusted lifeline for Muslims navigating life's complexities in the West, from managing relationships to tackling the finer details of halal business practices. They've got you covered. What started as a family support service for couples dealing with relationships challenges has now blossomed into a full-fledged resource tackling everything from Islamic finance to family inheritance disputes. If you've ever wondered how to reconcile a marital spat or make your business Sharia compliant, Islamic Council is a go-to place, with experienced Islamic advisors offering guidance on everything from marriage and divorce to trade and contracts. They're not just answering questions, they're solving problems. Let's welcome our guest, Shaqib Juneja, who's here to share how Islamic Council is making the life's trickiest moments a little smoother. Oh, and don't worry, tonight's advice is free. Or at least we'll try to keep it like that. Assalamu alaikum, how are you, brother?
Wa alaikum salam, Rahmatullah. Noor, good to be here. Alhamdulillah. How are you doing?
Alhamdulillah, not too bad. So please tell us, for our viewers who have not heard about Islamic Council, what you guys do.
Right, excellent. So we had a little slide, and I'm not sure if we can put it on, but it does give a little blurb about who we are and what we do. And I think the introduction you actually gave us was really good anyway. Okay, the idea is that as Muslims, we live by Sharia. Okay, Sharia is the guidance that Allah gives us in the Quran and the Sunnah, right? So we've got to apply that in our lives. Now, we can apply that to a greater or lesser extent, and it all depends on how much knowledge we have and where we live. You know, so if you lived in a Muslim country, you'd probably have Sharia applied in many things. When you live in a non-Muslim country, well, you've got to go according to the law of the country, right? But living here in the UK and living in the West, actually, what many Muslims don't realize is that you can apply Sharia to a much greater extent than what a lot of people think you can do. Okay, so for example, you're not just stuck with the insurance options out there, you know? It's our duty as Muslims to try and navigate through the politics and through the industry to make sure that Muslims have halal insurance options, you know, so halal finance options, halal student finance options, okay, and the same with marriage, divorce, etc. Right? So you can imagine two people who want to get married. Well, if you're Muslim, we all understand that the Sharia says, well, you get your nikah done, right? The Sharia says you don't have a relationship before you get married.
Absolutely.
Right? So we can live by that, right? So you can go to the mosque. There's an institution there. There's an imam. You've got to have the witnesses. So we understand that, right? And that's like with everything. I mean, when you've got two people who've got a dispute, what we say is don't just think about taking the other party to court. What we don't want to see is people choosing that as the first and only option. You know, you're going to spend thousands of pounds fighting a case against somebody. Well, why don't you come to the Islamic Council, right? We've got a setup here. And that's an achievement, actually. If you think of Muslims in the West, we've actually achieved an institute here where we've got a process, we've got an administration, and we've got the advisors and the panel who oversee that they're Sharia compliant, who will look at the case, who will make sure that both people get a fair hearing, and that then they're given a judgment which isn't just Sharia compliant, because it's got to be that, right? But also applicable to lives here. Now that's an achievement, right? And that's what we're doing.
Absolutely. I mean, that's perfect, because that can get really nasty. If they go outside to a lawyer, it could get messy. So it's really nice that you have something like this where they can mediate in a nicer way. What I wanted to ask about is the Islamic finance. I know you've got some courses going on. Can you explain to us about the Islamic finance courses that you've got going on right now?
Yeah, so we've got two courses. One that's live at the moment, so we've got a division called Islamic Finance Advisory, and everything to do with finance, including certifying product services that are Sharia compliant. It's all done through Islamic Finance Advisory. Okay, so at the moment we've gone to a lot of these different university ISOCs out there. We've put together an Islamic finance course. It's been running for about 5 weeks. It's an 8-week course, so we are on week 5 tomorrow, and so I think there is a slide that might come up that people can scan the QR or go to the. It'll come up soon. So it will talk about all the different elements of finance that we want students to learn about. We want young people to learn about, right? including, so this week we'll talk about endowments, how to set up an endowment for your future, you know, waqf, whatever it might be, that keeps investments. So investments, another topic we'll cover, right? Week after next, we're going to be covering crypto. Crypto is a big thing. People want to say, should I invest in Bitcoin or Dogecoin or whatever it might be, right?
Yep.
But there's a lot of halal and haram about it. And so it's really important that people know. You've got to know. If you're going to do it, you've got to know. So, and then we cover Forex. Again, a lot of people just jump into Forex thinking,
Yes.
you know, just make money and, okay, you might lose money and that's one element. But the other really important thing is, even if you make money, are you making halal money? So the whole course is around this. It's an 8-week course. Even if you join now, you get access to all the other recordings for the previously. And it's for £40. It's like, you know, I'd pay £40 for one of those. But because we've done it for students, we wanted to make sure that it was affordable for young people. Certainly something to join.
Absolutely. £40 is absolutely nothing nowadays, I feel like, especially for an 8-week course. I know people watching this have to join up. I want to ask what the process is like. Is it online? Do you have to attend in class? Can you talk to us about how the process is for these courses?
Yeah, so you sign up to the course. You'll have access to all the recordings of, you know, the sessions that have happened already. So they are live, they are online, and they're interactive. Okay, so they're like webinars, and you'll have a speaker who'll come from that particular background, who'll talk about that. Okay, so for example, I think last week it was Sheikh Fuad who talked about something. Sheikh Fuad Abdu is, you know, he's one of the panelists at the Islamic Finance Advisory. Before that, Sheikh Sajid Umar, who's also a judge at Islamic Council, but again, he's the visionary behind Islamic Finance Advisory. Umar Suleiman, you know, from Wahid. Again, you know, somebody who's in the sector, who's in the industry. And they'll talk about that particular topic, and there'll be, you know, enough opportunities, hopefully, to answer some of the questions. I mean, we've got more than 300 people already signed up, so not everybody gets a chance to ask their questions, but we try and get to the main ones. And it is recorded, and you do have an element of being able to always contact the IFA afterwards if there's any follow-up questions. So, you know, I think it's an opportunity, and we're building that educational knowledge about how to apply Sharia in your lives, right? Young people, old people, whoever you are, really, you know, you've got to know what can you do with your money, where you should be putting, where you shouldn't be putting it, you know. So it's all about that particular one.
Absolutely. Now, moving on to marriage, I want to talk in two different ways. We'll talk about divorce in a bit. But me as a 27-year-old man, a single 27-year-old man, I want to know more about your marriage courses. Can you explain to me what they help people achieve?
Yeah. And look, Noor, what I'd say to you is that you join the course, okay?
Inshallah,
we're making a dua for you live on TV, right? People might say, well, we'll pay you to make dua for us. Yeah, may Allah grant you a pious, beautiful wife. Ameen. And may Allah make your marriage a successful marriage, this life and the hereafter. Ameen. Right, and I'm sure, you know, and I said to you earlier, my daughters are watching me on here as well, so we're making dua for them as well, right?
Yeah.
So look, the most important thing here to remember is, when it comes to marriage, right, there's a course that we've got. It's going to go live on the 2nd of December, 3-week course, and we'll talk about topics. We'll look at case studies about, you know, why people fall apart, how to bring them together. You know, when you've got the
you've got the QR code on the screen now.
You've got the QR code right there on the screen. Take your phone out.
Guys,
snap it right now.
Time to snap it up, guys. Make sure you join up.
Yeah.
Take a picture. Take your phone out and take a screen grab. This is an opportunity you do not want to miss out on.
That's right. So we've gone into partnership with Pure Matrimony. You can see Marital Arts there, Islam-wise, right? So it's really important that people get access to this type of information, because it is about understanding what makes that marriage work. I mean, it's called Marital Mastery for the obvious reason, right? You want someone to go into a marriage and have that knowledge Islamically of what they should be doing with their partner, you know. And there's many things out there, you know, whether it's psychology or whether it's, you know, mediation, whatever it is, there's lots and lots of things out there that we've pulled together by professionals. Some of these professionals are people who lecture at university. You know, Dr. Ahmed Ali from the States is joining us, right? So he's a doctor, a PhD graduate, and also a Qadi, also a judge, a mufti, right? And he's part of Islamic Council in the States, Islamic Council USA. So we've got real people who work with people, who understand people, who will then put this into the course. So I think there's a lot of benefit to pull out of that one.
MashaAllah.
You know, and that's all about making the marriage work.
And now, unfortunately, we have to talk about the people who didn't go to Islamic Council. They didn't use Islamic Council for their marital. And unfortunately, they've had some spats, but they want to work it out and they've come to you guys. So can you talk to us about the process and how you go about reconciling that marriage?
Yeah, I'll talk, because this is the most important point, actually, because the reason why we've done this course, and even the other one, is because when you really think about it, you don't want to solve a problem at the end, right? Prevention is better than...
Absolutely.
You know, so what we've got here is we're trying to get the course at the start, so that we see that people don't actually fall into those mistakes. But okay, if it happens, then we can't just accept that people should just deal with it themselves. We've got to have a setup as a Muslim community. You know, it's our responsibility. We look after our own, right? Families got to look after each other. Every mosque has got to have. I'd say every mosque should get in touch with the Islamic Council. Let me come to the mosque. I will bring some of our imams and we'll talk about how this works, so that every mosque should provide their congregation this type of service. That you've got to have both parties come to somebody who's able to talk to them about how they can resolve their matters. Remember, the council started off as reconcile. It was set up in the East London Mosque as a reconciliation service.
MashaAllah.
And very much still until now, you know, Sheikh Abdul Qayyum is part of Islamic Council and he's the main imam there at East London Mosque. So it was set up in order to reconcile between people. And that was the whole, you could say, the core of what they do. People who've fallen apart, a spat, as you said, you know, but even if it's a business dispute, whatever it might be, if that happens, don't just sit with yourself and think, oh, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Come to the council. There's a cost to the service, but we do subsidise it for family law events. So anything to do with family, we'll subsidise it, but we do have to cover the costs, right? But we'll take you through the process and a setup, make sure that you've got a fair hearing, and if it does mean that at the end of the day, the woman, for example, does have a case there that her marriage should be dissolved, then it definitely needs to be dissolved. And we've got to accept sometimes you do get a relationship where there is abuse, and you've got to end that, right? And so that's what the council's there for, to protect women like that as well. So it's very important that we exist for so many different reasons.
MashaAllah, I'd like to finish on that because it's nice to know that you're also there to stop this kind of abuse and to point it out, to trigger it out. You're talking about just a brief history of Islamic Council. Can you talk to us about how you guys came about, a little bit about the history of you guys coming up?
Yes, so Islamic Council, like I said, was set up as a reconciliation service with the idea is that you can't just have a mosque that deals with the education of the children through the madrasa and just the 5 daily prayers. And I think a lot of mosques and you know, Islamic institutes have kind of moved on from that. You know, we've developed over time where it was just the madrasa and it was just the 5 daily prayers, but now it's providing those counselling services. A lot of mosques provide the counselling services. Yep. But this is the next step, right? We've got to put in a structure where you can provide fair hearings. And it's not enough for the imam just to sit with the two people and give him a judgment, because there's no oversight there. You know, if there's an accusation that he gave more time to her or him than he did to me, you know, how's the imam going to protect himself from an accusation like that? Okay? And the other thing is that it's not binding. You know, it's all advisory. So it's got to be done in a way which both parties feel it was fair, even though the judgment might go into one person or the other person, right? So it went from reconciliation over time, where we had Sheikh Abdul Qayyum, our current chair of the panel of muftis is Sheikh Haytham al-Haddad. I think he comes on Islam channel quite a lot.
Yeah.
You know, so muftis who'd come together, who said, we can offer this service. So that service was set up. And you could say three things happened. You've got the people of knowledge who know how to do adjudication. You've got a system that was created, and then you had an administration to help manage all the paperwork and the casework, etc. Now that all three together is what Islamic Council became. And I think that's a massive achievement for the Muslim community in the West.
Absolutely.
Because when you think about that, here we're now offering so much in terms of what Sharia gives us, and still, even under the Arbitration Act, we can do this work, right? We can do this work here in the UK. It's not a parallel law. It is under the English law.
MashaAllah, that's so
Right?
beautiful.
And that's really important
Yep.
for people to hear, because we're doing the work like that of the Sharia. It can be done. If it can be done here, it can be done in every non-Muslim country, to whatever extent it allows us. And that's why we want to help Muslims, wherever they are in the world, see the structure that we've created.
Inshallah.
And that's something that I aspire to do.
You're very well spoken, and I think it's a beautiful initiative. I think youngsters like myself definitely will benefit greatly from this service. Do you have any upcoming projects you can talk about with us? Anything new on the pipeline?
So we've got our annual dinner coming up on the 17th of January next year. We'll give an update of what we've achieved over 2024 and since inception. So it will be an opportunity for people to hear about what the council has actually been doing, the thousands of people that we've helped, okay? And over a year, we take about 1,000 cases, and that's still just the tip of the iceberg of the Muslim community just here in the UK, right? So there's a lot of work and there's a lot of expansion work we need to do. As a project, right, I would like to speak to all the mosques out there and say, look, get in touch with us, get in touch with me, okay? Get in touch with the Islamic Council, drop us info@islamiccouncil.com, okay? Drop us an email and I will happily come out to the mosque and talk to you about how Islamic Council operates and how we can set it up in a mosque like that. That's the project.
Thank you so much, Brother Shaqib. Thank you so much for coming and joining us. If we show the QR code just one more time so people can, that's the Islamic Finance one, I believe.
That's the finance course right there, yep.
So yeah, you can, again, scan the QR code, greatly beneficial. Some of the legends in the finance industry, I would say, on that course. Scan the QR code, join up, and also don't forget about the Marital Mastery one. That's a very important one for all you youngsters out there. I want to see everyone on that course, inshallah. And that brings us to the end of this segment. Thank you, Jazakumullah khairan. Thank you so much for your knowledge. Brother Shaqib again from Islamic Council. I'll see you after the break. Assalamu alaikum.